This video is made for a mature audience. This is a video made to critique the disgusting behavior within both the community and the subject itself. You have been warned. This can be considered as a form of awareness. But what is ZADR? ZADR, what does it stand for? Well, for most it's pretty simple, if you're in the Invader Zim community. Though for the grass touchers in the back, or the confused majority, you've probably never heard of this abbreviation. In hindsight, ZADR stands for Zim and Dip Relationship. Relationship meaning romance in context. Sounds innocent in the context of a fandom, though by using a Google search, you'll see, well, let me give you a taste. To anyone who knows anything about the law, this is probably very concerning, considering that these two characters are described to be 12 years old by the shippers. It is even outright stated that one of the characters is 12 years old. By doing a simple Google search, it is outright stated. It is also stated by said character in the movie.
I'm 12 years old. I'm 12 years old.
So both these characters are 12 years old and they're making weird fetishistic drawings of them. But unfortunately, there's two issues in one. A lot of you aren't ready for this conversation.
Okay. Random question. From an Urkin perspective, is Zim supposed to be an adult or a child?
Zim was always an adult. He's. You remember Dennis the Menace?
Yeah.
It was like a little boy, and his nemesis was this old man. You know, I'm no Dennis the Menace fan, but I always thought that was funny. It was yeah, we never really like explicitly stated it in the show. Never felt like we had to, but yeah, Zim is an alien who lived an entire life. Like he's like a grown man who's come down and he fights children. Like that's how dumb he is. You know, that's how just stupid he is. He gets embroiled with this little child's, this child rivalry. But yeah, that's them.
It was 50 years ago. It was 50 years ago. On the Urkin military training planet Devastus. I'd been waiting years to take my final test to become one of the Urkin elite soldiers.
I've been flying ships since before you were born, sad little Earth monkey. Since before you were born.
All you could hear during this episode were girls going, So it really, I mean, I knew this before, but it really just sort of put a spotlight on how so many of like the fans are watching the show wrong. They say that once you make something, it's no longer yours, it's in the hands of whoever interprets it. Also wrong. Because like the major tenets of the show are sarcasm, cruelty, and violence. Affection and, warm, fuzzy things, anything that would inspire, aww, it's not in the show. It's just not in the show, so anyone responding to that in that way, there's something wrong with that.
There's so much evidence to clarify this in the show and out of it, but human beings, when they're obsessed with something, will always find a way to make an excuse. And they've been debunked by numerous people, which I will show clips of that. So here are some videos by Ollie.
But time works deference. When on Earth was that ever mentioned? Because the only reference to time being described as different was on food kosher.
Anyhow, after your escape, the great foodening began. Food Courtia's most horrible food rush that lasts 20 years. The gravitational pull from all that snacking makes it impossible for anything to leave the planet. I was trapped, alone, without help.
20 years? But I haven't been gone that long.
There's a time warp thing involved. I don't know.
And to go based on your guy's idea that Earth's time is different from Earth, remember Zim is an alien. He's not from Earth. Therefore, why would he identify as a child? Just because he's on another planet. The only reason he does is to blend in. But you also see him of adult disguises as well. Though remember when Joan and Vasquez said, always an adult.
Zim's always an adult.
Get the earwax out of your ears, people. Because what's the definition of always? He says Zim was always an adult, meaning that Zim will always be an adult. But what about him shipping Zim and Goz? I'm going to be honest. It was going to be a thing in the pilot, which probably means Zim was originally going to be a kid, around Dib's age. Which is where a bunch of images of Zim being described as a kid are coming from, which you can tell just by the art style. Either that, or it's just a reference to Zim pretending to be a human child, like the creators are making some big joke off of that fact. In all honesty, I feel like with all this information, people should have just gotten the hint already, moved on, stopped glorifying something that's clearly weird, and bettered themselves. But it's my hyperfixation. Then get therapy. There are recommendations and people who are willing to help you, because clearly, you have a problem.
Now we're getting into the more serious point of the video. This was actually the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place, because I feel like nobody talks about how this community portrays these two kids, as that's what they assume. A lot of them like to use the excuse of aging them up as to why they are allowed to sexualize them, though at the same time they also acknowledge that they're making the creator of the show very uncomfortable. And some of them like that fact for some reason, though a lot of them have to realize that you are looking at a picture of a child and you're sexualizing it. A lot of them are going to use the excuse that it's just fiction, but Jonan has stated that the characters are reflections of himself.
I like when I can see an actual personality in someone's work. So when I watch other shows, I want to feel the person coming through. That's my favorite stuff. I want to see that they're making something that could only have come from them and looks like them and sounds like them. All these characters are like you, the absurdist versions of you.
Not only that, but that Dib is based off of his own childhood experience.
Dib is definitely that little me that wanted so badly to find these things and go see.
You're taking a character based off somebody's actual experience when they were a kid and you're sexualizing them. It's gross. People have been trying to avoid this topic for ages now, and I feel like it has to be said. ZADR is a spread of misinformation about a kids show. Funny thing about kids shows, they're made for kids. Children are going to be exposed to the misinformation that you guys are spreading. Once that happens, now you have an issue once they find out the actual ages of these characters. And once that happens, with how you guys validate this type of behavior, it's going to enable it into their lives. And it can be not only that, but the fetishes that you guys put into art of these two characters. This phenomenon is not new, unfortunately. And if you want more information on this type of behavior, then I would recommend to probably watch this video. And I'm going to be honest, this behavior should have ended when you guys realized it was making the creator uncomfortable. Because you have to understand that this is Jonan's show, and this whole idea is just a delusion. It's harmful to his community because you guys are validating the idea of a minor and an adult getting together. Though unfortunately, they're probably going to continue making excuses for why this type of behavior is okay, despite the amount of consequences that comes with it. There's a difference between finding something weird and validating illegal material. Though unfortunately, the internet will always have weirdos around.